To talk about the BJP's Sankalp Patra, we're joined now live and exclusive on India Today by one of the senior ministers in the Modi government, Hardeep Puri, Minister for Housing, Urban Affairs, Petroleum and Natural Gas. Has been a former diplomat and an author. Minister Puri, welcome to India Today. I want to start by getting you to explain to those watching at this moment what, according to you, is the big thrust of the BJP's manifesto, given the fact that Article 370, the Ram Mandir, have already been implemented. Some of the key ideological pillars of the BJP, apart from Uniform Civil Code, are no longer there to take to the masses because they've been achieved. So what's the big idea that you're going to the Indian voter with?
No, first of all, I don't think we should be looking for ideological fixes. A party manifesto is a statement of intent of the party, in this case particularly the party in office, the party in power, as to what it plans to do over the next 5 years. And I think for the current exercise, the context setting is we've come in with 10 years of solid developmental credentials. We have delivered on each front. Just to give you an example, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, 4 crore homes sanctioned, most of them delivered to the beneficiaries, and today the Prime Minister says we will make another 3 crore. We will produce another 3 crore for the beneficiaries as the demand rises. Now, this is a vision document. It provides the vision of the government as to what it plans to do in the next 5 years, that is up to 2029, which is a stepping stone towards the India of 2047 or a Viksit Bharat. All the other political parties have been just studying their manifestos, Rahulji. They are intended and focused on the coming election. We are looking at the elections as part of another exercise ongoing since 2014. And the distinguishing feature of a BJP manifesto today is, and I draw encouragement from what you said, the BJP is one political party. If it puts something in the manifesto, it will produce and implement that promise. So what you said, we have done since 2014, most of them are done. A few things are left. UCC, Uniform Civil Code, is a case in point. And today I think there was absolute clarity that Uniform Civil Code nationwide will be aimed at and implemented during the next 5 years. But I think the greatest takeaway from this budget, from this manifesto, for which provisioning will come in the budget, is that there are 24 guarantees there. And each of those guarantees is very specific. Let me just tell you on the Ayushman Bharat scheme, which is one of the most talked about schemes, health insurance schemes in the world today. We had this great debate in the US. We had this issue about whether the healthcare system functions. Here, we had a scheme that every household which qualifies according to a criteria would get up to 5 lakhs rupees per year for diagnosis, medicine, surgery, post-operation care, etc. The Prime Minister has now widened the scope of that. And he has said, like, if you go for any health insurance anywhere in the world, senior citizens will not be covered because the expectation is that they are more vulnerable to diseases and ailment. But he said even people above the age of 70 will be covered. Equally, if you look at the qualifying criteria, it is being broadened. Then you look at the Swanidhi scheme, which was a life savior for all the vulnerable street vendors during the pandemic. Today that scheme is being broadened. He said not only in the major metropolitan cities, but it will go to tier 2 and tier 3 cities, also to the rural areas. And therefore, on each of the areas, I think those 24 guarantees take the development plank to a new order. That's why I call it a gold standard manifesto.
Minister Puri, if we look at the Congress's manifesto, the opposition argues that they are giving more tangible giveaways or takeaways for the Indian voter. from the socio-economic caste census, raising reservation above 50%, bringing in a constitutional amendment, 10% quota in jobs, educational institutions for economically weaker sections, right to apprenticeship act, which is a one-year apprenticeship, a legal guarantee for the minimum support price. So they're basically making the point that if you look at the manifesto, compare what you get from the BJP, compare what the Congress is promising. The Congress's claim is they're tangibly appearing or claiming to give more to the Indian voter. How do you respond to that, Minister?
I can respond on each of the points you've raised. I mean, one of them is literally, spinning yarns. They talk in terms of, they would do this and they would do that. Let me ask you a simple question. When it comes to specifics, where is the Congress party delivering and what is it delivering? The main plank, for instance, is a caste census. So what will happen if you get a caste census? Here we are talking about development, taking India from the 5th position to the 3rd largest economy in the world within the next 5 years. And they are talking about a caste census. The other day I heard a young leader say something interesting about, hum aayenge to hum kisano ka karza maaf kar denge. Tell me something. You remember there was a very learned Prime Minister they had, Dr. Saab. He said money doesn't grow on trees. Agar 71,000 crore ka farm loans hai, agar usko maaf karoge, somebody will have to pay for it. It will have to be debited somewhere. And let me remind you that between 2004 and 14, in order to keep petrol and diesel prices under control, they turned around and said, we will float oil bonds. So they floated oil bonds for 1,41,000 crores. And today the poor government and the oil ministers having to pay back 3,50,000 crores because of their fiscal irresponsibility. So as far as the Congress party is concerned, I personally, I've known them as a civil servant. I've known them 7 years as a minister. What they say, I don't take seriously. Look at our track record. We have said that we have increased MSP today is given on more products, much higher rate. And today the manifesto specifically says we will go on revising MSP. That carries credibility. In any case, what the Congress party puts in its manifesto will not be taken seriously because they're not expected to get more than 40 seats overall in the Lok Sabha.
Minister, you're also in charge of petroleum and natural gas, and given the fact that you just mentioned oil prices, I want to draw your attention to the geopolitical tensions in the Middle East, which has seen a 1% rise in oil prices on Friday. Brent currently hovering around $90.50 a barrel. As Minister, how concerned are you by what we're seeing between Iran and Israel and what happened at night, where multiple drones and rockets appeared to be fired into Jerusalem? Most of them were held off by the air defense systems, but that could clearly have a bearing on international oil prices with a direct impact in India.
Rahulji, I want to recall a conversation on the same subject you and I had when we were in Davos, I think a few months ago.
Correct.
And even on that occasion, I said that, yes, I am concerned. I am concerned because whenever there is turbulence and tension on the geopolitical level, and particularly in venues close to home, that time we were talking about the attacks in the Red Sea from the Houthis. Today we are talking about an exacerbated tension situation insofar as the state of Iran and Israel are concerned. Yes, I'm concerned, but again, I say that Modi's government will navigate through these difficulties with confidence. Oil prices are at 90. Yes, we have brought oil prices down in spite of the oil prices being high and will go up. I'm just keeping my fingers and everything else closely knotted and to watch the situation. Yes, concern is there, but I think we are confident that wiser counsels will prevail and this does not escalate and exacerbate into a much larger conflict. There are worrying signs, definitely, and we are monitoring those. And I'm sure if you speak to my colleague, the External Affairs Minister, he will give you the same broad message. But having said that, I think we are confident that insofar as availability and affordability is concerned on energy or even sustainability, we are on top of the situation.
India is the third largest consumer of oil. 80% of our oil requirements are imported. Iran has also threatened to shut down the Suez Canal. Minister, how you're also a top international thinker and you look at geopolitical issues very closely. How concerned are you about that prospect, and what kind of backup plans? I mean, whether that happens or not, we don't frankly know, but what kind of backup plans are you making in the government, sir?
No, but first of all, I think the backup plans are not made now. Backup plans have been made for a long time. Yes, definitely, if one of the major supply routes is closed, or if the Straits of Hormuz is closed, or something else has happened, etc. First of all, individual countries can go only up to a point. There's a fair amount of deterrent firepower there in that region. So I hope no one is going to take a maverick-like action. But if that were to happen, yes, we have diversified our sources. There'll be higher freight and shipping costs, but I don't think we're at that point yet. But were we to reach that point, we'll still be able to manage the situation.
Okay, let's take a look at some of the ministries that you control and the promises that have been made around it. The Prime Minister has now promised 4 crore plus Gareeb Parivar houses under the Prime Minister Awas Yojana. Can you explain how is this different or taking forward from what's been done in the past? In June 2015, the Prime Minister had come up with a scheme to tackle urban homelessness and promised housing for all. So how is it, what is the difference between what you propose to do in the next 5 years and what you had promised in June 2015, Minister?
Rahul, thank you for asking that question. I think the point that needs to be made, this is part of a continuum. This is what is continuing since June 2015. Then, both for the urban and the rural, we had separate segments. Now, the figure of 4 crores which is being mentioned is, as far as I know, it's mentioned for both. It covers both the rural and the urban. And I think we've already covered 4 crores. That is the point. Today, the Honorable Prime Minister said we will do another 3 crores. So that 3 crore is an additionality to the 4 crore. Now, if you look at this in perspective, the previous government, which was here between 2004 and 14, they had something called a JNURM, Jawaharlal Nehru Urban Renewal Mission. And they had a Awas Yojana in that. They promised to make 13 lakh, they could only make 7 lakh. So please compare their 7 lakh with our 4 crores. That is the difference in scale. The total spend on the urban sector in the previous 10 years of the UPA government was 1,70,000 crores. We have gone 12 times over that. We are now at 18 lakh crores. So all the schemes that we are talking about, whether it is metro, the trains, the other connectivity points, the airlines, PM mentioned that 1,000 planes have been ordered. I was Civil Aviation Minister when we succeeded in privatizing Air India. And it is that one decision which has enabled your civil aviation sector to not only survive, but today it is thriving. 74 airports has become 150 plus airports. We have now the world's, one of the world's largest metro system. Within 2 years or so, it will be the second largest metro system in the world. We will overtake the United States, which has 1,560 kilometers of metro. We have 940 or so, and another 1,039 kilometers under construction. So, Rahulji, no matter which way you're looking at it, India is growing. I would like to think it will grow at over 8%, but even if you take the cynics and detractors, they're all talking about near 7% rate of growth. Now, as your base increases and you get a 7-8% growth, you're obviously producing jobs, you're producing economic opportunity, you're producing a win-win. Your biofuels is a case in point. We saved 41,000 crores of rupees when we did 10% blending. We were able to pay our Kisan buys 42,400 crores. We are now going to 20% blending instead of 2030 by 2025. So it's booming all over. The green hydrogen story similarly. And Honorable Prime Minister mentioned that. So today, whether it is the urban India or it is the larger scape, PM said that previous governments, ones before 2014, had neglected the urban space. And he said we look at this as an opportunity. And it is that opportunity which is resulting in the real new India 2047. Because by 2047, you will have what? 800 million people living in urban spaces. And urban spaces are already producing more than 70% of the GDP. Then it will be an even higher figure. So urban housing, real estate market in India, Rahul, is booming just now. In fact, today I get worried it's doing so well. I hope we don't go into a bubble later because of the success.
One of the government's big promises, Minister, was around smart cities. Could you give us an account of how much progress do you think has actually been made tangibly on delivering these smart cities, and what do you see happen over the next 5 years, Minister?
The smart cities is one of the most successful projects that the government undertook because people didn't understand what a smart city is. Let me say, today those questions are no longer asked. 100 smart cities were selected, 10 of them were greenfield, and they were all elected. People had to bid through projects. Today, I think about 90% of the project finance has already been incurred. So you have new greenfield cities like Naya Raipur. Little bit of work is left. But now the question is, what do you do in the follow-up? Will, after these 100, you see, the 100 smart cities were not announced in one go. They started in June 2015. The first tranche of 20 came in 2016, then 17, 18, and 19. It typically takes 5 years for a smart city to go in. And I think we have, all the 100 command and control centers, which are the nerve centers for a smart city, in place now. Now people are talking about a second tranche. Today the PM spoke about new satellite town. Now they're talking about smart districts, smart villages, etc. In the coming few months, we'll have to wait for how the government outlines its vision of how to take this smartification. You see, 90 of the smart cities are area-based development in traditional cities. When we were drafting the BJP manifesto in 2014, we didn't know exactly what we were getting into. So we said we will build 100 new smart cities. But when the election process took place, 90 of them became area-based development. Like in Delhi, New Delhi Municipal Corporation is a smart city. The rest of Delhi, I hope we can at some stage extend it. So the experience that we are getting from the Smart Cities project is being used, like in Haryana, Gurugram. They are trying to make on the smart cities principles. Other cities in the country are also trying to do that. But this is going to spread beyond the 100 smart cities. As far as I remember, bulk of the project have been tendered. There are about 20-25% of work remaining, which I think will be completed within the next few months.
Minister, you come from the state of Punjab. In the negotiation that was happening between union ministers and protesting farmers, the government seemed to be willing to make some allowances as part of the negotiation on extending guarantees for minimum support price, legal guarantees. Now, those don't find mention in the manifesto put out by the BJP. Why is that the case? And how do you look at the issue of farmers in Punjab and elsewhere asking for an improvement in minimum support prices, including on the issue of legal guarantees?
Negotiation and flexible negotiating stances are the essence of democratic existence. What the farmers were asking for, I'm probably the wrong person to ask, is they want a guaranteed minimum support price. Whereas the government's position is very clear. We will go on increasing the coverage of the MSP and we'll go on improving it. And I think the manifesto has a very clear reference to it. We will increase the MSP. That has been the government's position right from the beginning, and that is the government's position now also. And if you look at the hard facts, even when the farmers' agitation started, the first time when the MSP was being reviewed, we immediately improved it, and today it's much better than it was earlier. And I'll read out to you, Rahul, the exact thing from the manifesto. It says on page 22, we have ensured, it says increase in MSP, we have ensured unprecedented increase in MSP for major crops, and we will continue to increase MSP from time to time. This is a statement in the most responsible document, which is the party's manifesto, where we says on page 22, I repeat, we will continue to increase MSP from time to time. I said anyone who wants to have an assurance on this, this is assurance in black and white.
One of the big promises is Uniform Civil Code. So far, we've seen, Minister, Uniform Civil Code being implemented incrementally state by state. Uttarakhand, Gujarat had it in its manifesto. So you're going state by state. Are we to understand the new manifestos to suggest that after the elections get over, you want to bring it as a central government project, like you struck down triple talaq, do it state by state, or bring in one law and implement it nationally? Minister.
Well, I can, as I think the best way to answer this question is to talk about, refer you to the manifesto, and I take you to page 54. Article 44 of the Constitution lists uniform civil codes as one of the directive principles of state policy. BJP believes that there cannot be gender equality till such time as Bharat adopts a uniform civil code which protects the rights of all women, and the BJP reiterates its stand. Now, Rahul is very important. BJP reiterates its stand to draw a uniform civil code, drawing upon the best traditions and harmonizing them with the modern times. I think this is as modern, as rational, and eminently sensible an approach on the Uniform Civil Code. If your short question is, will we do it nationwide? Yes, we will go in that direction.
Okay, wanting to go nationwide, the minister is a skilled diplomat, so he knows how to avoid the questions that he doesn't want to answer and stick his bat out very carefully, but that's just the way it is. You answered as best as you could. I'd leave it over there. Minister Hardeep Puri for joining us on India Today. Thank you very much.